introduction and for organizing these events on Zoom. It's great to have a new book in the world, but since the world appears to be ending, it's also kind of surreal and weird to be talking about poems at a time when we have so much else to think about. So thank you for organizing this and reminding us that we should still be thinking about expression and art and making and holding these types of spaces for one another and for our whole reading audience. And Tina, it's such an honor to read with you, and I'm so excited about listening to your poems as well. I'm going to be reading some work from my new book, the fourth book, White Blood, A Lyric of Virginia, which is just out from Saraban Books. It just came out on the 5th of the month. And this book is a combination of documentary poetry and personal lyrics that has to do with the legacies of enslavement and racism, various forms of discrimination in the South. The first poem is a prelude. You are on a train, and your ancestors are in the quiet car. The quiet car is locked with a password you can't decrypt. You're a professional password decryptor, but your ancestors are demolition experts. You're wearing black tactical gear, and your ancestors are wearing black tactical gear. You're dashing through each compartment, slamming doors open while your ancestors lay small explosives. As heat expands within the carriage, you escape through a picture window. You climb to the top of the train, and your ancestors rappel down the sides. You're rappelling down one side of the train when you glimpse your ancestors above you. They leap from carriage to carriage as if weightless, as if drifting, as if curling tongues of snow. You cling to the side of the train as each of your ancestors lifts away from you. They float into the cloud of themselves. In the rushing light, you perceive them as hundreds of slow snake doctors. Oh, you begin. Next section is a series of erasure poems. So there's so many poets here in the room. I know that you all know what erasure poems are. It's when you have an existing text. It could be poetry, but more than likely it's a piece that's not produced as poetry. And what you do is you simply erase the text or submerge it away from view, and the words that are retained after the erasure, those make up the poem. So I have a whole bunch of different erasure poems in this book, all under the same title, What Your Results Mean, because the source text of my erasure was the results of my genetic ethnic DNA test that I took at the beginning of the research journey for this book. So this is a section called What Your Results Mean, Western Africa, 28%. The West African you is a hunter. Try, carry this. The West African you has split and expanded, a mixture historic as a gene. The West African component of your lineage, the out of Africa event, the New World slave seen in this genetic print. You are likely a mixture, a cluster, a high number. Your DNA has roots that cluster and spread and trade and carry. The West African you spanning more than more. Regions of time in people, oh. Between this cluster and African, oh, Niger and Chad, oh, fingerprint. African, you span most of Africa, African America, African diaspora, and the Southern African forests out of Africa, east, south, and then southeast. Within Africa, throughout Africa, the historic African world. Well, so, well, so. So that was one section of erasure poems. I erased the same little paragraph of text 10 times, so to create variation and texture across the erasures. I'll read some poems now from a little bit deeper in the book. I have a section here called Albemarle, the name of the county where I currently live, where the University of Virginia is, where I went to undergrad, and of course, where Thomas Jefferson lived and dreamed and wrote from his mountaintop mansion, plantation, Monticello. So these poems are from the Albemarle section. Instructions for time travel. You must go through Mr. Jefferson, along his row of Chinaberry trees, behind the ruined smokehouse in unmarked tracts, under field stones, with no carvings, no monuments, with a few leaves shadowing the mulch, near scattered weeds, in sunken lines, while the sun walks in the day, at the end of the day, in an oval of brushed earth, just as the soft path finishes under branches where the dead are always saying what they always say, right about me. Monticello House Tour. What they never say is Mr. Jefferson's still building. He's just using clear bricks now for his turrets and halls, for the balconies rounding his palace and transparent loops of dug air. After death, it's so easy to work. No one sees him go out from the residence, his gloves full of quiet mortar. Mr. Jefferson's coat is narrow as daybreak. His long sleeves drag in the muck as he minces his turf. You know the room you were born in? It's part of the tour. Hundreds of rooms unfolding for miles, orchards alive in the parlor. Remember the gold chair you loved, the one with a face like a lion, especially in late winter, when mother sat with you in her pink gown humming. As it happens, Mr. Jefferson built you that lion. He drew your time in prudent proportions. You have one job, to fit the design he keeps spinning. Your whole life is laced through a ring of similar finds. Look, it's all mothers in pink gowns humming. Essay in Architecture. And that title is taken from the words of Jefferson himself. He called Monticello his essay in architecture. The human face, its pine doors painted like mahogany. Human face with horses under each veranda. Perfect parquet tetragons of the human face. Human face still legible in Old French. Sealed casket of the human face lit by oculus. Design face, tinker face, factory face, twine and bare wood comprising a pulley system for the human face, woodworked face with sunbeams settling in, revolving buffet supporting the human face, entire pewter plate collection in the face, human face as soup tureen, as paint chip, as spit jack, smoke rings textured like the human face cured, human face pickled, human face brushed with olive oil, anchovies, and Parmesan, green floor of the dome room just above the human face, floating view of the face, its quarter farms, rough cabins dotting a sloped face partly visible, human face built to resemble a great clock, great pendulum drawing faces in the air. What your results mean, Northwestern Europe, 12%. This region, early episodic habit, region divided into small percentages of centuries. It is a long advent we now know. Region of rope, much more than a region, the spread of this in small ages. Avian man migrating south and east over the last Latin centuries. This region of composite character grew from mix and tick. Ion, subdivided into empire. Much more than an historical population, it is the South, ethnic, political, so small. This region, a graphical character, settler, farmer, biographical region of one. This region of glaciation, spread of settlers, the last people of European ancestry, from that we part. And then I'll read one more poem here. It's from a section of the book called Louisa, which is an ancestral county where my grandmother and her family are all from. A guide to the Louisa County Free Negro and Slave Records, 1770 to 1865. The first box is for all the good white men, the ones who freed their slaves on Christmas. It's always Christmas in the first box, the day Delpha shall go out, the day Viney shall go out. These good white men only desire the guardian care of those underage. After that, they shall go out, just as Winnie shall go out at the age of 21, entirely free from me or mine or any other person whatsoever. Delpha, Viney, and Winnie shall go out on Christmas Day. The first box slides open to show their certificates. The good white men of this county, believing that all men are by nature equally free, have left many of these. One certificate is for Viney, one for Winnie, one for Delpha. But these good white men can only free the slaves they truly own. One man observes, the above-mentioned Negroes are disputed in their titles to me, namely Delpha, Viney, and Winnie. He doesn't say more about the dispute. He doesn't say what happens on Christmas Day. This good white man has said all three should go out precisely on Christmas Day, but now it is different. It is very different now, even though Christmas has come. The good white man writes, I only free as to my right and title given under my hand. The box slides open to show certificate after certificate. It's Christmas. Thank you.
Very nice. Did you clap or not?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.